Thank you,
And
guys.
so
Thank you.
a big part of women's health tech and venture is about how to prepare for the art and the science of fundraising. Whether you're trying to fundraise as a startup and you're beginning to bring in your first investors, or if you're trying to do a later round, either A, B, or C, and you're trying to make sure that you have all of your I's dotted and T's crossed, there is an important and critical function there in making sure that that's being done properly. And when investors and different partners are looking for specific financial data to do that, it's going to be important that you as an entrepreneur, as a startup, are answering the questions appropriately, correctly, succinctly, and efficiently. Otherwise, it often turns out to alienate investors or somehow or another give them the feeling, an uncomfortable feeling that the financial side of your business is not one that you're familiar with. And as we've heard many folks from Shark Tank say on TV on a regular basis, that any CEO that does not know their numbers should be damned to hell forever. And so that is important to understand, since a lot of folks that start up new companies in digital health either come from a clinical background or a research background, or they're coming out of an undergraduate or graduate degree and they have a tremendous invention or idea. And so they don't have financial backgrounds. And so here to help us with that expectation and understanding what types of expectations should be met with investors when fundraising is Katie Chefalas from Withum, one of the leading accounting firms in health and tech in the world. And Katie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Dan. Happy to be here.
Now, and really appreciate you. We know how busy you are, and really appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule today to help our community better understand what to expect and prepare for when fundraising in women's health tech and venture, particularly given the fact that it's Women's Health Month, Mental Health Month, and we do want to help these folks have as much a background and much understanding about this as possible. First, if you could just give us a 1-minute background of yourself. We'd like to hear more about you.
Sure, thank you. So my name is Katie Chefalas. I am a manager at Withum in our technology and emerging growth group. I have been with the firm for just a little bit under 9 years. Personally, I am an auditor by trade. However, Withum offers a wide range of services, including tax work, sales tax work, advisory and consulting services. We actually even have our own group called the Founders Group, which was created to specifically cater towards founders such as yourselves. Founders, you guys face such unique situations and tax issues that we wanted to create a group specifically to cater towards your needs. We've been seeing the market, as we all know, for the past couple of years, really ever since COVID, has just been absolutely crazy. We're seeing so many exits and acquisitions, or founders selling a portion of their shares of their business. So it's just super important to put yourself in a strong position early on. And then just a little bit more background on me and Withum and how we kind of got involved in the women's health and wellness space. So it was about 2 years ago at this point, my colleague Victoria, Izzy, and I decided that we wanted to team up together and to create the Women's Health and Wellness Group at Withum. Women's health and wellness is just something that we're both super passionate about. We both had, we're kind of realizing we had a fair amount of clients within the space, and just how much we really enjoyed working with the companies and their founders. It's just super rewarding, as a woman myself, we just care about it extra. So for the past couple of years, we've been getting involved with various organizations such as HITLAB. We're doing our best to meet as many founders and players within the space as possible, just so we can figure out how best to, support and service this amazing space and, contribute to the success of women's health and wellness.
That's fantastic, and it's greatly appreciated. We've seen just with our own interactions with them, the good work you guys are doing, and really impressive, I have to say. And going back to the topic at hand, and again, we'll be dropping in Katie's LinkedIn link into the chat box for everyone who is listening right now, and certainly it will be also in the YouTube video when we drop it on the YouTube channel. So please do feel free to link in and connect with Katie. But Katie, from your experiences, what are the top three things that women's health tech startups need to have prepared for financials when they're talking to potential investors?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, investors are going to want to see your plan for how you're going to monetize your idea. I mean, at the end of the day, they are looking for a return on their investment, you know? So it's super important to have a clear strategy. You know, what is the environment of the market that you are tapping into? What will be your competitive advantage? You know, how will you generate cash flow? That's really one of the most important things, I would say. So, you know, founders, you know, early on, at minimum, you know, you want to track your, you know, your cash inflows and all your cash outflows on a monthly basis. You want to know what your cash burn rate is. You know, what's your cash runway, you know, based on what you have in the bank today and your estimated burn rate, you know, how far out can you continue to go? You know, those are things that they're gonna ask, and you got to know, you know, you got to know that on the spot. If you don't, how are they, you know, they're investing in you and your business. So, you know, you want to be able to answer these questions and, you know, have some, you know, insight into what you think the future for your company is. And then also on top of that, you know, if and when you do get the funds, what is your plan in place for what you plan on doing with them? You know, is it, obviously every company is different, you know, are you going to invest in more research? Are you going to invest in more people? You know, how is, you know, your plans that you have going to contribute to the future success and growth of your company?
Brilliant. So it really sounds like they've got to have that kind of P&L forecasted, that kind of cash flow forecasted, and then obviously use of funds. Is that kind of the top three areas?
Yeah, I would think. Mhm.
That's really really appreciated there. And so
Yeah.
from your experiences as well, Katie, you obviously do this all the time. What are some of the flags that investors look for that you know women and founders and male allies on this program here today should be listening about and listening for and be wary of? You know, because maybe it's the first time they've done this and they don't know that
Mhm.
you know booking a first class flight to the Bahamas for a quote
Yep.
unquote executive retreat might be a red flag for some investors. What are
Yep.
some of the red flags that you've seen investors balk at, and really give them a really uncomfortable feeling that these folks aren't going to take good care of their money?
Mhm. Well, I think so. One of the things to be aware of is you're going to incur a lot of expenses early on that maybe you wouldn't expect. So obviously they don't want to see any, you know, behavior where you're being lavish, taking first class flights, stuff like that. But also just being aware of, like, for example, if you're looking to do an equity raise, that can be extremely costly. And I think sometimes that can catch founders, you know, by surprise. Um, so being, you know, being mindful of how much you think it's going to cost, being aware of things like that. You know, having an attorney early on, like just having a good strong counsel to help guide you making business decisions early on, that's another, you know, costly expense. um, so I think you know, one of the biggest things is just being aware of all of those expenses. um, and you know, because the last thing you don't want to, you know, eh, if you're caught off guard with stuff like that, you know, how are you supposed to run, you know, an entire business?
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's where it really comes to roost, right? And that those kind of early signals that investors get can trigger them as to, yeah, this is a good management team, or this is a good executive I can get behind,
Mhm.
or no, this person really doesn't understand this process. And you know, again, just to wrap up, we've got about a minute left.
Yeah.
You know, from your experiences in all of this work that you've done over the last several years in women's health tech and digital
Mhm.
health, what are some of some recommendations that you give to either first-time founders or folks that are new to the healthcare circle and women's health tech, that when they're starting their journey in the fundraising
Mhm.
process, what are like some of the top couple of recommendations, three recommendations that you give to folks starting this journey?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, I think it is, you know, having a solid set of books, having, you know, if you need, a lot of times people need outside help, you can get, you know, an outsourced accountant to help you. You really want to have a strong hold of your of your financial statements so you can answer these. They're going to ask very specific financial questions. And like we said before, a lot of times, founders are, more from the research, coming at it from the research side and stuff like that. So you just want to make sure you're as best prepared from that angle to answer, those hard hitting questions. Because like we said earlier, it's an investment for them. They really want to get a return on their investment. So, prove out your ability to generate cash flow. And then, just how are you going to differentiate yourself in the market? What makes your company different and how are you going to succeed?
That's great. Great advice. Katie, again, thank you very much for just tremendous insights. Obviously, you've been around and doing this stuff for a while and you get it at a deep level. So thank you very much, Katie from Withum. And again, her LinkedIn address was dropped in the chat box by Rachel a few minutes ago. So please link in with Katie and ask her any other questions you have about your fundraising journey. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you so much.
And really, really important session there. One of the things that we're seeing more and more of at the lab are a lot of startups and tech, emerging techs that are in the fundraising world, not just doing non-dilutive financing with grants and loans from everyone from the NIH to the SBA, but doing a lot of friends and family investments and doing a lot of work to bring in institutional investors as well. As mentioned by our earlier guest as well, the amount of investing in digital health has skyrocketed over the last few years in women's health tech and mental health. So we are seeing a lot more activity there than ever before, historically speaking.